In the dim, decaying lobby of a run-down building in a forgotten corner of Newark, a single mother stood, trembling, her son's small hand gripped tightly in hers. The low murmur of an old fan barely cut through the suffocating heat that clung to the air. Mariah Benson could feel the oppressive weight of the moment, the heat seeping into her bones. Her son, Malik, his wide brown eyes full of fear, clutched his Spider-Man backpack as if it could protect him. The manager's voice broke through the tension like a whip crack. "You can't pay the rent, can you, deadbeat?" He barked, his voice rough and cruel, a jagged sneer distorting his face as he slammed the office door shut with a deafening bang. Mariah flinched but held her ground. The air was thick with the smell of mold and stale cigarettes, the peeling wallpaper of the corridor sagging as if the building itself was dying. It had been a long day. She had worked double shifts at a low-end diner, scraping together every penny she could, all for a chance to get into this building, a possible fresh start. The landlord had promised her a 2-bedroom unit. She jumped through hoops, sending countless emails to a woman named Angela, confirming the appointment, then struggling to gather every last dime for the deposit. But when they arrived, Angela was nowhere to be found. Instead, a skinny, disheveled man in a wrinkled shirt sat behind a desk cluttered with papers and empty coffee cups. His name tag read Chris Walker, property manager. Mariah took a deep breath, forcing her nerves to steady. She spoke, her voice firm despite the fluttering in her chest. "I'm Mariah Benson. I spoke to Angela about the apartment." Chris barely looked up from his phone, his thumbs tapping away as if she wasn't even there. When he did glance up, it was only to sneer at her, eyes red-rimmed, the contempt in his gaze unmistakable. "Angela's not here," he muttered without much care. "I run this place now." He let out a huff, letting his gaze linger over her, as if she were the last thing he wanted to see. Then, his gaze shifted to Malik, and his smile turned cold and menacing. "What's this? Another one of you freeloaders with a kid in tow?" Mariah's stomach twisted, the insult hitting her like a slap, but she kept her composure. "I work full-time," she said, her words crisp despite the tightening in her chest. "I've got everything covered. Applications, rent, references." Chris's laugh was harsh, almost mocking. "A full-time job, huh?" He leaned back in his chair, dragging his hands through his greasy hair. "You flipping burgers down the street? People like you always say they've got the money, but when the bills come due, they're gone. I don't rent to lowlifes like you." Malik shuffled closer to her, his voice trembling. "Mom, he's really mean. He's scaring me." Mariah squeezed his hand tightly, her voice steady despite the burning fury in her veins. "It's okay, baby. Just stay close." She pulled out her phone, showing him the email she had saved, a deposit confirmation, clear as day. "Look at this," she said, her voice unwavering. "I've got the cash right here, ready to go." Chris barely looked at the phone, instead swatting the air like a bothersome fly. "That don't mean a damn thing. You probably stole it. I got a list of real tenants, good folks who don't look like they'll stiff me." "You're a joke." Mariah shot back, her anger flaring. "Let me in. I've got everything you need. You don't get to tell me no." Chris slammed his fist on the desk, his face contorting into a sneer of disgust. "You hear me? My building, my rules. You won't step foot in here." He stood up, looming over her, a predator's gaze locking onto Malik, who shrank back. Without warning, Malik stepped forward, his voice cracking with newfound courage. "You can't talk to my mom like that. She's the best. She's got money more than you." Chris's eyes flashed with fury, and his sneer twisted into something darker. "Shut your mouth, or I'll shut it for you," he hissed. Mariah's heart thudded in her chest as she tried to pull Malik back, but before she could react, Chris's hand shot out. Not a shove, but a full-force slap to the boy's shoulder, sending him crashing to the floor with a sickening thud. Malik screamed, his small body crumpling in pain. Everything inside Mariah snapped. Rage surged through her like wildfire. She threw herself between them, her voice a roar, her eyes blazing with protective fury. "You touch my son again, and I'll make you regret it." Chris staggered back, his smirk still intact, but his eyes were wide with the realization that she wasn't backing down. "Get out," he sneered, hands up in mock defense. "I'll call the cops. Trespassing's a crime." Mariah knelt beside Malik, gathering him up in her arms. "We're leaving, But you haven't seen the last of me, she whispered. This is far from over. Outside, the oppressive heat of the evening sun bore down on them, but Mariah's mind was ablaze. She wiped away Malik's tears and looked him in the eye, determination solidifying in her chest. We don't lose. Not now, not ever. You're my little warrior, remember that. Malik sniffled but nodded, a flicker of strength returning in his eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. Don't apologize, she whispered, her grip tightening on his hand as she pulled out her phone again, dialing a number with fury in every movement. Lila, it's me. I want everything on Pinnacle Properties. Every secret. Get Marcus on the line now. Lila's voice crackled through. Boss, what's wrong? Just do it. Mariah snapped, her eyes burning with the promise of revenge. We're taking them down. All of them. By the time night fell, Lila had delivered. Crestwood Arms was owned by Pinnacle Properties LLC, a corporation drowning in debts and scandal. The building was falling apart. Tax liens, unpaid fines, leaking pipes, roaches everywhere. Mariah sat at her kitchen table, papers scattered, her fingers trembling with a rage that wouldn't quit. Malik slept upstairs, his wounds treated, but the fight wasn't over. Marcus called her. Tamika, you sure you want to do this? It's a nightmare. She clutched the mug of cold coffee, so tight it creaked. Because they hurt my son, and now I'm going to hurt them right back. Get the offer ready by morning. The next morning, Mariah walked into Pinnacle's office, her heels clicking against the marble floor like a death knell. She wasn't the broken woman they thought she was. She was the CEO of Ascend Tech, a company she had built from nothing, now worth $80 million. Apps that connected people, platforms that empowered the voiceless. She'd fought for everything she had, through sleepless nights, rejection, and now this was personal, and she would win. Mariah Benson was ready. She knew the battle ahead was not just about taking down a corrupt property manager, but about changing her life and the lives of others trapped in a cycle of neglect and abuse. It wasn't just about securing a better future for her son Malik. It was about ensuring no one else had to face what they had endured. Mariah was a fighter, and now she was armed with more than just determination. She had resources and allies to make a real difference. Her first call was to Lila, her trusted lawyer. Lila had always been there when Mariah needed her most, and this time was no different. The legal team quickly dug into Pinnacle Properties LLC, the company that owned Crestwood Arms. They uncovered a long history of financial misdeeds, unpaid taxes, and code violations. Mariah wasn't going to let any of it slide. Mariah, this isn't just about fixing up a building, Lila said. This is about holding them accountable for years of mistreatment. Mariah clenched her fists, feeling the fire of justice burning inside her. The tenants at Crestwood Arms had suffered for too long, and they deserved better. She would make sure they got it. But first, she had to deal with Chris Walker, the property manager who had insulted her, and, more importantly, laid a hand on Malik. He was the face of the oppression that had festered there, and she wasn't going to let him get away with it. That a few days later, Mariah walked into the Pinnacle Properties office with confidence. Her heels clicked on the marble floor, each step a sign of her new strength. She wasn't the same woman who had walked in a week ago, desperate and nervous. Now, she was the one in control. Chris Walker, who had once tried to bully her, was about to learn how wrong he was. Chris was sitting at his desk when Mariah stepped inside. His usual smug expression faltered as he saw her. What do you want now? He sneered. Mariah took a step forward. I'm here to take this place back. I own it now. And you, Chris, are out of job. Chris's eyes widened. You can't, he began, but Mariah interrupted him, her voice sharp and confident. Yes, I can. I've seen the reports. The violations, the unpaid debts, the lawsuits. You've been running this place into the ground. I'm not going to let it continue. I'm not going to let you hurt people anymore. She slammed a thick stack of papers onto his desk. This is your future. You'll be lucky if you leave here with no criminal record. Chris shifted in his chair, suddenly rattled. You think you can just... I've already made the calls. Mariah interrupted. The city knows what you've done. And soon, everyone will. Chris paled. He could see that he had lost. Mariah had everything. Financial records, tenant complaints, and legal documents. The power was hers now, and he was just a man who had overstayed his welcome. By the end of the week, the tenants of Crestwood Arms were informed that the building was under new management. Mariah personally oversaw renovations. The place, once dilapidated, was now clean and safe. She planned to reinvest every penny into maintaining the building and ensuring its future. The tenants were grateful. No more leaks, broken windows, or fear of eviction. They had someone who cared, someone who would fight for their rights. As for Chris Walker, he had learned that no one could mess with Mariah Benson and get away with it. The next time someone tried to take advantage of the vulnerable, they'd remember the woman who stood up for what was right.